Hi guys, welcome to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to be making some simple accessories for our character using a combination of box modeling and sculpting. I made a little inventory pouch with a strap, a quiver with arrows, and a bow. Because the shape of the bow is a little unique, I put a reference image up in my Dropbox that you can import into your viewport in case you wanted a guide in the shaping stage. Okay, let's jump in. Okay, starting with the leg strap for the little pouch. Shift A and adding in a plane. / on the keyboard for local view, then tabbing into edit mode, Control R and mouse wheel to add in some control loops. I'll select both vertices on the end here, 7 on the numpad for top view, then up on the left, let's select the 3D cursor button here, then click right above the vertices here like this. Now press F3 for the search menu and type spin. In the menu that pops up on the bottom left, I'm going to change the angle to something like 225, as I want this to be the part of the strap that forms the loop for our ring. You'll notice that it's looping in the wrong direction though, so let's change it to -225. You can also play with the steps counter here if you want more or less vertices. I think the default is usually 12 or 15 or something, which is usually quite high for me, so I've lowered it to 6. Okay, now I'm going to extrude some more vertices to line up with the flat part of the strap, then adding in a solidify modifier and increasing the thickness. You'll notice the thickness is quite distorted. To fix this, tab back into object mode, press Ctrl A, then select all transforms. Now up to the object menu and selecting Shade Smooth. Then adding in a subdivision surface modifier, tabbing into edit mode and Ctrl R to add in some more control loops along the length of the strap. Okay, now let's add in the ring, Shift A and selecting the torus, S to scale it up and then position it into place. Selecting the strap again, and then S and Z to scale it up along the Z axis and thicken it up a bit. Now I'm going to select the top and bottom vertices here and pull them in to make the strap look like it's kind of conforming to the shape of the ring. Just some small adjustments here to close up the space between the strap. I do make it a little bit too close here as the vertices start to overlap, as you can see. You may want to keep a little bit more room in between. Okay, now Shift D to duplicate, then press S, then X to constrain. And then I'm going to enter -1 to effectively flip it, then just moving it into place. Now I'm going to select everything and move it over the thigh like this. Then I just move everything manually to conform to the shape of the thigh, spacing out the vertices a bit here. Then turning on proportional editing by pressing O, then moving it towards the leg. Now I'm going to extrude just the vertices of the outer part of the strap and shape them around the leg. Once I have a few extruded around, I then turn on snap to face to have it better follow the shape of the leg. The two straps are separate objects right now, and I want them to be one. To join them, just press Ctrl J. Now tabbing into edit mode, I'm going to select the vertices here, press F for the search menu, and type bridge, and select bridge edge loops. Now the two are connected. You may have some weird shadowing or artifacts when you do this. To fix these, select all the vertices and press Shift N to recalculate the normals, then just more shaping as you see fit. Okay, so onto the little pouch. Shift A to add in a rounded cube, S to scale it in a bit, tabbing into edit mode, going to select the top vertices and then delete them, adding in a solidify modifier, I'm going to make use of the spin function again here. Selecting these vertices in the top right corner, select the 3D cursor, place it where you want the vertices to spin around, F3 on the keyboard and type spin. Then you can play with the angle and steps to get the desired look. Then I'm extruding out some additional vertices to elongate the flap a little. Now let's add in a little button using the built-in Loop Tools add-on. Control R for the 2 vertical control loops, then add 2 horizontal ones like this. Then I'm going to add an additional vertical control loop down the middle of the 2 we just added. Now select this middle vertex and press Shift Control B to create a bevel. Right click, select Subdivide. Now right click again, and with the Loop Tools add-on enabled in the Edit Preferences menu, you will have this additional item at the top where you can select Circle, which will turn your selected vertices into a circular shape for you. Now I to inset and E to extrude. Looks okay, but you may notice some artifacts or weird shading in the corners here. Tabbing into edit mode, we can see that this is caused by some n-gons we have created, which are faces with more than 4 vertices. Here this one has 6. To fix these, select the 2 vertices here in the corners and press J to join them. Doing this for all 4 faces and tabbing into object mode, we can see that it looks a lot smoother. Okay, now I'm going to make a sort of strap to match up with the strap we wrapped around the leg. Selecting these vertices here, I to inset, and then going over to the Shrink Fatten tool on the left to scale this region out. And like we did in the earlier video with the forearm bracers, N on the keyboard, selecting this edge here and increasing the mean bevel weight to 1, and then repeating for the other edges I want to be sharp. Now over to the modifier panel, adding in a bevel modifier, moving it above the subdivision surface modifier, changing the limit method to weight, and then adjusting the amount and segments parameters to get the look I want. If you want to give some color to the different regions, going over to the Material tab, click on New or select a material you have already. To give the button a different color, click on this little plus button on the left and click New or select another material you have already. Then tab into Edit mode, select the area you want to be a different color, and then press the Assign button. Now the selected vertices will be a different color than the base. Now just repeating this for the strap. Now just going to add in some cylinders to the pouch to make it look like they are carrying something. Now just rotating it into the rough position I want. We'll have some clipping for the time being as I haven't positioned the arms in the correct way, but when we pose the character they won't be overlapping. The forearm and shin guards are kind of floating a bit, so I'm just going to add in some straps by tabbing into edit mode, I to inset and E to extrude, then just changing the color like we did before. For the shin guards, you can see some weird behavior along the front part of the boot due to the multi-resolution modifier not liking new geometry you add after it's been subdivided. To fix this, you can just delete the multi-resolution modifier and then add it in again. Any detail sculpting you may have done, however, will be gone, so you'll have to add those details back in if you do go this route. Now onto the quiver, just a simple rounded cube. Elongated in edit mode, then chopping off the top vertices like we did for the pouch. Now just extruding the top edge out and down to create a sort of large cuff. Then shade smooth and a multi-resolution modifier subdivided a bunch of times. And then now just adding in some control loops and extruding some parts out to make it a little bit more interesting. Now, like we did before, into sculpt mode and using the mask tool, I'm going to draw in some designs to match the body armor. Control I to invert the mask, then the move tool to extrude the design out a bit. Then just changing the color like we did before. For the arrow, just a simple cylinder and then moving the vertices down in edit mode like we did earlier to kind of scale it in the vertical direction. Then just extruding and scaling to make it a little bit more interesting. Then Shift A and adding in a plane, Control R to add in a control loop in the middle, L to select the linked vertices of the arrow shaft, then H to hide them for now, then S, then X to constrain and scale outwards, then G to move them up to form the feathery part of the arrow, Alt H to unhide the arrow shaft, now 3 on the numpad for side view, then E to extrude and give a little thickness, and Control R to add in some control loops on both the feather part and the shaft. Make sure to add in a control loop on the top and bottom of the shaft like this as well. Then adding in a multi-resolution modifier and subdividing a few times. To tighten up the edges of the shaft, I'm going to tab into edit mode, select the loops that I want to sharpen up, and then press Control B to add a bevel. I'll decrease the offset and increase the steps to 2. I'll also add in some vertical control loops to help sharpen up the feather part as well. Without the control loops, the multi-resolution modifier gives some very weird geometry. Then into sculpt mode, I'm going to go up to the stroke menu here and click on Stabilize Stroke. This helps with getting straighter lines. Then you can change the colors like you did before as you see fit, then just rotate and move into place. Okay, now onto the final part, the bow. I'm going to start off by adding in a rounded capsule. Tabbing into edit mode and adding in some control loops. Now tabbing into sculpt mode, I'm going to turn on both Y and Z sculpting symmetry and then start the shaping process. Create a sort of bean shape for the handle part of the bow like this. That's fine for now. Now I'm going to Shift D to duplicate this, and then I'm going to add a mirror modifier. I'm going to change the mirror axis from X to Z so it mirrors vertically. Then I will Control A and clear transforms to reset the mirror point. Now tabbing into edit mode, I'm going to rotate this piece around like this. And then with the elastic deform brush, I'll start pulling it into a shape like this. Okay, I'm happy with that. Shift E to duplicate again. Control A to clear transforms. I'm going to rotate like this in edit mode and then back into sculpt mode for some more general shaping. Then again, the same process for this piece. And then again for some accents on the top. Okay, that's good for the general shape of the bow. Similar to what we did for the body, I'm going to shift select all the pieces and then press Control J to join them. Then tab into Sculpt mode. Up to the remesh menu, I'll test the current voxel size with the eyedropper just to get an idea of where I'm at. And then decrease the voxel size to something lower until I find that the artifacts in between the spikes are tolerable. Once I'm happy, I just hold Shift to smooth everything out. Okay, with the base shape all joined up and smoothed, now it's just a matter of putting in some rough details. Here I start with the scrape brush to flatten the handle a bit and make it a little bit more angular and stylized. Then moving to the crease brush to kind of split up each section a bit more. Here I'm holding control with the crease brush to give a subtle, harder edge here. As I work my way up, I am using predominantly just the scrape, crease, inverted crease, and clay strips brush to rough in some details. Here I want to use the mask tool to pull out a nub for the bowstring, but in order to do so, you need to apply any modifiers you have added to your model first. If you have any modifiers on your object and try to use the Sculpt mask tool, you will not see it. It will only become visible once you apply all your modifiers. For the bowstring, I just add in a cylinder and lengthen it in edit mode. Then I use Ctrl J to join it up to the base shape, and then Ctrl R to voxel remesh and make the topology all uniform. And finally, just some more accents with the Sculpt mask tool like we did for the armor. M for the mask tool, draw on some designs to match up to the armor, then Ctrl I to invert and the deform brush to extrude it a bit. Then just some more mask tool to create another sort of accent here as well. And that's it. There's one way you can model and sculpt some accessories like this. In the next video, we will retopologize the face, body, hair, and bow to prepare it for texturing and rigging. Give me a shout on social media somewhere. I love seeing your guys' stuff. I also have a small Facebook group going where we can kind of share ideas and resources and share some of our artwork if you wanted to join that as well. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I hope it helped, and see you in the next one.